They had to have the longest legs in history because this pebble sat up in the middle of town until somebody got the bright idea, let's bring it down and tell people that this is where the Pilgrims landed. Tain't so, folks.
Capitalism.
You know, Malcolm X, I think, summed it up the best, though, when he said that we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yeah!
It really did. Now, you'll notice it has all these columns and all that neat stuff by it and all these nets. Apparently it's falling apart. And I'm pleased to report that after taking it up with a few people, I'd like to let the Commonwealth of Massachusetts know that United American Indians of New England and our volunteers and supporters will give them the lowest bid for tearing it down. We're not going to charge them anything. I'm sure we could arrive with sledgehammers and all the kind of stuff that we needed, you know, and like I said, wouldn't cost the Commonwealth a cent. And in the scurry, the rock itself just might have to disappear, though. You know, I've always wanted to have one of those illusionists come down here and do that thing where they make the rock disappear. You know, they make the Statue of Liberty disappear. Well, maybe we can conjure it all up. Maybe we can get the Plymouth Rock to disappear. Because it definitely doesn't need to be here. It doesn't need to be the symbol of oppression and sexism and racism and all those kind of isms that we're forced to live under. And right now, we've taken the streets of Plymouth, and we're in no hurry to give them up. We have some time. The kitchen, I just called the kitchen, and they would like us to take some time. It seems that they got a whole lot of food, so I hope everybody's going to stand down here and get hungry. But again, a number of years ago, the first National Day of Mourning, we buried this thing. We buried the rock, not once, but twice. See, we buried it once, and the fire department came and hosed it off. And we went back and buried it again. And in 1995, we buried it. But there was a slight glitch. I had come down to this rock, and I looked down at it at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was dry. Around this time of the day, when I went to jump into the pit, there was about 6 inches of water. I wasn't prepared for that. I was like one of those cartoon characters trying to crawl out, but we buried it. And we buried it with seaweed, we buried it with sand, and we covered it with blood. It wasn't real blood, we just pureed some chicken livers and whatnot, but that was to represent the blood that's been spilled because of this thing over here. Well, I guess, you know, blood's blood. And you notice that they have to, as with most things in this country that are symbols of racism and all these kind of things, they have to protect it. They have to build something around it. They have to put bars on it and all that kind of thing because, you know, somebody might just take it. Which wouldn't, again, be a bad thing if this rock were to just go somewhere. But I guess it's here for a while, and we're going to have to deal with it. But every year we're going to come down here and tell people that this isn't what's happening. How many people that came into Plymouth today were expecting to see something the size of the Rock of Gibraltar? Oh yeah. When I was a kid, I was brought up here. I got to go see Plymouth Rock. I came in here and I looked down and I'm going, we got stones in our front yard that are bigger than that thing. And I'd like to know if when the Pilgrims landed, if the 1620 were already on it. I haven't been able to figure that one out. And a few years ago, we watched a Disney movie, I think it was called Squanto or something like that, where when the Pilgrims landed, one of the first things they did was put up a sign that said, Plymouth. Okay, and then, you know, we had movies like Pocahontas and all this kind of thing, where we're portrayed as these whatever, you know, the noble savage kind of thing. Well, a few years ago, I worked for the United States Post Office. And one day we had a whole lot of mail. And I'm putting about 50 pounds of mail on my shoulder. And I went up to the manager and I said, you know, we were considered to be uncivilized because we used to signal each other with smoke or drums. And I'm telling you, smoke is a heck of a lot lighter than the United States mail. But we were uncivilized. And when the Pilgrims landed, they found that this area was cleared and there was nobody around. And that's because we had done like most people do nowadays. We go to our winter home, except we didn't go south, we just went further west to get away from the cold of the waterfront. And a few years ago when I was speaking at National Day of Mourning, I looked out on the harbor and I was moved. Because out of this harbor, as I mentioned before, native people were sold as slaves for 220 shillings. Now I have no idea in 2007 money how much that is. But any time that any individual or any person would sell another human being, whether it be for a penny or $1 million, is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. And for those of you from this area, we, of course, the Boston Red Sox won the 2007 World Series. But one of the nicest things that happened is when they beat the Cleveland Indians. And that racist, horrible mascot, Chief Wahoo. I made the statement one time that if I were to sit there and were to, say, make a caricature of the Pope, with the big teeth, the whole 9 yards, and before a baseball game or a football game, the Pope comes out in the middle of the field and does a mockery of the Roman Rite. How far would we get? Not very. But they sure can put on that logo, and people can do the tomahawk chop, and we can be called the Atlanta Braves and the Washington Redskins and all of that kind. Well, how about a team like the Jersey Jews? Yeah. Be nothing wrong with that. We are people. We are not mascots. And anyone who thinks otherwise is absolutely wrong. I bleed red like everybody else. I don't need to be embroidered on a baseball uniform. I don't need to be, you know, in the town where the University of Illinois is, the Illini, the Illinis, whatever, when the football season hits, they have for sale in the men's rooms and ladies' rooms toilet paper with a native man on it. Chief Illiniwek, whoever the heck he was. And they do this mockery of a native dance and all this kind of stuff. And if you ever get a chance to watch a video called In Whose Honor, you will see how racist and horrible that is. And then people wonder why we are here today. And when people, you know, make statements like, "Ah, get a life, it's over, it's done with," it's not over, it's not done with. It's not going to be over and done with until racism is eradicated. It's not going to be over and done with until sexism is eradicated. When homophobia, which we have a banner that says homophobia is not native to these shores. It's not. It was brought here.
That's right.
We honor two-spirited people. And sometimes we get asked, when are we going to stop protesting? Well, I mentioned it before. When all these things cease to happen, then we'll stop protesting.